In clear rejection of the President's appeal to President Xi, China is reportedly increasing its echo chamber of the Russian false statements about atrocities, false claims that it was Ukraine that staged a lot of these atrocities. Is there anything more between the U.S. and Beijing in trying to get them to not propagate these the propaganda from Russia?
These lies. This has been a topic between, to include at the highest levels, between the United States and the PRC. President Biden did have an opportunity to address this. Other senior officials in this government have had an opportunity to address this. The fact is, at the end of the day, the PRC is going to make their own choices about their partnerships, their alliances, their actions, and their messaging. And this would not be the first time that we have seen false propaganda emanate from the organs of the PRC. It won't be the last time. Our concern, however, is that this time is different because the issue is not the sort of run-of-the-mill propaganda that we expect to hear from governments that have something of an adversarial relationship with the truth on occasion. This is an effort that may seek to provide cover to Russia's potential plans to employ some of the most heinous weapons in their arsenal against the free people of Ukraine. We are concerned, as we've said before, that Russia may seek to resort to chemical weapons. We're concerned on the basis of a few elements. We know that Russia has a track record. Russia has used these agents against its own people on Russian soil, on European soil. Russia is engaging in the practice of projection, projecting onto whether it's Ukraine, whether it's the United States, what they themselves may be planning to do in terms of the false lies that there are active chemical weapons programs on Ukrainian soil, or that the United States is somehow involved in any chemical weapons program on Ukrainian soil, both outright lies. And of course, we know that this is not a campaign that has gone according to plan for Vladimir Putin. And you can make that judgment on the basis of any number of facts, but at the most basic level, and we have declassified this, you've heard this from our CIA director, this was a campaign that Vladimir Putin thought would land his forces in Kyiv within 48 or 72 hours, very shortly after the initiation of aggression against Ukraine. We're now more than 5 weeks into Russia's war against Ukraine. Russia has lost the Battle of Kyiv. Its forces are retreating, and Russia's tactics are becoming even more brutal. So the Secretary was asked earlier about reports. We're not in a position to confirm anything at this time, but we've long voiced our concern, and long voiced our concern that any government would seek to lend any degree of credibility to what appear to be nothing more than outright lies, seeking to cover, obfuscate what Russia may be planning to do in terms of the employment of chemical weapons.
Shanghai, can you
Sure.
speak to the decision and particularly that it was based around the COVID restrictions? Or do you view them? China says that they're based in science. Do you view them as onerous, as severe, as a violation of folks' freedom of movement or anything like that?
Well, as you alluded to, Connor, we did yesterday order the departure of non-emergency U.S. government personnel and family members from our Consulate General in Shanghai due to two things. One, the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak in Shanghai, but also the restrictions related to the PRC's response to that outbreak. We previously were on authorized departure, and the move to ordered departure means that we are now mandating that all family members and certain employees depart Shanghai rather than making this relocation decision voluntary. This reflects at its core our assessment that it is best for our employees and their families to temporarily reduce in-country staffing as we deal with changing circumstances on the ground. There are commercial flights. We expect our employees and their family members will be able to depart Shanghai in the coming days on commercial flights. Ambassador Burns and other Department of Mission officials have consistently raised our concerns about the safety and welfare of U.S. citizens with PRC officials, including in the context of the PRC's COVID restrictions. We've informed the government of the PRC about our ordered departure. And even as we draw down our staff at the Consulate General in Shanghai, we continue to provide support to our U.S. citizen community throughout the PRC. We've adjusted staffing throughout the mission to respond to the surge in demand for emergency citizen services, including by standing up a team at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing to provide supplemental support to Consulate General Shanghai. And where conditions permit, routine U.S. citizen and visa services remain open to the public, and facilities at the U.S. Consulate General in Shanghai will reopen to the public as soon as possible.
So just to be clear, though, do you view these restrictions as too severe?
Well, we have moved from authorized departure to ordered departure because of the scale of the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions that have been placed by PRC authorities on people in Shanghai, including our diplomats and their families.